This is episode 26, and today's topic is Lost in Translation, First Impressions of Japan. Hello, Sue.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well. Okay, so we've been in Japan for many, many years. I first came to Japan in 2005. I didn't know very much about Japan before I came. Some people come to Japan and they like anime, or they like Nintendo, or they've got some kind of connection, or maybe they like Pokemon or whatever. I don't know. Or maybe they've done karate or something. They've got some kind of connection. Maybe they've studied Japanese. I hadn't. I hadn't studied Japanese. I didn't really know much. I'd heard of Godzilla. I think I knew what a samurai was or a ninja, but that was my level of understanding. I couldn't use chopsticks when I came to Japan. I certainly couldn't use chopsticks well. So there was a lot of new things for me when I arrived. And probably the first thing that kind of hit me on arrival was the language, the written language. Because suddenly it was everywhere. Like there was a lot less English than I expected, which is a crazy thing to say because obviously you're not in an English-speaking country. But yeah, just seeing signs written in Japanese, which looked very, very exotic. The Japanese written language looked very, very exotic and very, very complicated. So that kind of hit me just even in the airport. I remember just walking through the airport after arriving and just seeing all this Japanese writing, thinking, okay, this could be interesting. Yeah, that was kind of the first thing. And then I came on the JET program, which is a sort of a teaching kind of exchange program. Teachers are brought into Japan to primarily teach at elementary schools and junior high schools. And that's what I first came to Japan to do. And we had a orientation for a couple of days in Shinjuku. And this was at the Keio Plaza Hotel, a nice hotel in the middle of Shinjuku. And it was August.
Very hot.
Incredibly hot. And because it's this kind of formal government-sponsored program, you need to dress nicely. You have to have a suit and tie, shiny shoes, and it was August. It was really, really hot. So just very, very kind of uncomfortable. Humid, really, really humid. I mean, obviously, I was in London before coming to Tokyo, and it was summer in London, but we don't have the same humidity. So yeah, that kind of hit me pretty hard. Yeah, and with summer, especially with August, you have the cicada, which is this little kind of insect, or not so little kind of insect, that just makes the most incredibly loud noise, and kind of very repetitive noise.
And there are so many.
Yeah. And in August, they're all going crazy. And again, in the UK, it's not as warm as it is in Japan, so we don't have those insects. So this was a completely new noise. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what this noise was. So yeah, those are a few things that kind of hit me on my first visit to Japan. What about you? Well, your arrival was a little bit different. You first came out to visit me.
Yeah. But I think that was a little bit of a blur.
It was okay. Why was it a blur?
Because I was visiting. I didn't really have to understand everything.
Right. You're on vacation.
I was on vacations, and you were a local in a way. So I didn't really have to figure things out on my own at that time. So I was able to enjoy it without really any struggle, I would say. But once I arrived for staying
to live
here, and I really had to start figuring things out for myself and having my own experiences without you, because you have to work, and I had to do my own thing. It was it was easier, I think, in a way, to find my way around. But the little interactions that are now normal, I didn't really understand them, and they're very set.
Yeah. So, well, let's say what kind of interactions you're talking about. So, for example, going into a convenience store. Say you want to buy something in a convenience store. Obviously, you take your item, you queue, you hand over your item, and they might ask you several questions. They might say things. So, for example, they might just say the price of the item as they are, scanning them or whatever. So there's lots of things being said by the person working there that very often you don't have to reply to. This is just things that they say. It's part of their job to make it clear what they're doing. But you don't, if you don't understand anything that's being said, then you're not sure, like, are they asking me something? Is this a question? Do I need to say something? So yeah, it can be a little bit difficult to kind of, a little bit stressful, shall we say.
Yes, sometimes you say yes to things that you didn't really want.
Yeah.
But I mean, nothing too terrible.
Yeah.
But it's like, did I?
Well, that happened to us the other day in the supermarket. It's quite hard communicating with people at the moment, because very often the people in these shops are still wearing masks, and there's a plastic screen still. And this lovely old lady in the supermarket, she said something, and we couldn't really hear what she was saying, didn't really understand what she was saying. And then I think we said yes. And she gave us this tiny little silver coin with nothing on it. It's just like a little kind of what we'd call a blank, like a coin that's has no marks on it. And we were like, I said to her, what's this?
So confused.
We were very confused. And basically it was a coin for a machine, a dry ice machine. Mm-hmm. So you can get ice, because we bought some ice cream. And she said, do you want to get some dry ice to keep your ice cream cold on your journey home? So anyway, we had a chance to learn about these machines. Crazy cold ice. Like, yeah. Anyway.
So it still happens,
it
sometimes
still happens, yeah.
You think you got it, but you don't. So, yeah, saying yes to things that you didn't really want. Nothing terrible. You can always, say no. But that's something I struggled with a little bit.
What about the train stations? For me, sort of my second or third day in Japan, I had to go from Tokyo Station out to Niigata. My first place I was living in Japan was in Niigata, which is out on the Sea of Japan coast. And had to go through Tokyo Station, get on a Shinkansen. And that was kind of an experience, because train stations are busy all over the world, but Tokyo Station is kind of extra busy. And also everybody seems to know where they're going. So people are kind of moving quickly. And when you don't know where you're going and you're kind of looking around and there's so many platforms, so many different lines.
You're inconveniencing everyone.
Yeah.
You're in everyone's way when you don't know where to go.
Especially if you've got a lot of luggage.
Absolutely.
You're kind of a hazard.
We used to live in Shinjuku, and main station that we would always use would be Shinjuku Station. Shinjuku Station is, I would say, it's bigger than Tokyo Station and much more complicated, I would say, because it has other lines. It has the Otakyu. And there's also like the metro station, which is another...
Yeah.
It's other entrances. But I always... I would be very careful just to always go through the same area. So I wouldn't really try to, explore. And one of my rules, and I always have that rule, I still have that rule, is when you come into Shinjuku Station and you're in the platform, there are some stairs that go down and some stairs that go up.
From the platform?
From the platform. Never go down. That's my rule. Because when you go down, you can change your trains, but and that's fine. But to get out of the station when you go down, I've been lost. With a friend, we couldn't get out, and we got lost for an hour, just trying to get out.
An hour getting out of the station.
It was early. It was because
it was rush hour.
It was rush hour, and we were in a line that is not a JR line, so we couldn't get out.
You were on the KO line.
Yes, or the Odaki, one of those. And then you cannot go out in anywhere.
Okay.
And so I'm still traumatized for that. But my rule is just go upstairs because that's the area I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, in terms of kind of positive things that we've noticed coming to Japan was the streets being very clean. I think that's kind of true. There being no trash cans, no rubbish bins on the streets. So if you do want to throw something away, there's just nowhere to put it.
No, you have to carry it with you.
Which I think is part of the reason the streets are so clean. Because I think very often in other places around the world, the streets are dirty because the bins are full and things start to overflow or whatever. So yeah, that was a kind of weird thing. Obviously, food was a big thing. So many foods that I'd never had before. So I would say the first week you're in Japan, every meal you sit down to eat, you're kind of asking people like, what is this? What is this? Before you put it in your mouth. You kind of want to know what everything is. And then probably, second, third week, you're already eating. And then you still ask, like, what is this? But you're already eating it. And then, a couple of months later, then you just, know a lot by then, but you just don't care as much. You just eat. It's going to be fine. I think it's a great experience. It's great coming to a place that has so many new experiences. It's just to kind of learn that it's okay to not know, and kind of ask questions. That's something that I learned in Japan, is that it's okay if you don't know, because somebody is probably happy to explain it to you. And it's how you learn. You learn by asking questions. Some interesting early experiences in Japan. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the English with Colin podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to the conversation and found it helpful in your language learning journey. Remember, the key to mastering a language is regular practice. So make sure you listen to our podcast regularly and keep honing your listening skills. We appreciate your support and feedback. So if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for future topics, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. You can find our contact information in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to joining you again next time for another conversation in English. Until then, keep practicing and take care.